What is up, guys? This is Chaz Giovanni here with a second installment of Hey, I hope this helps. And what this is it's basically a visual podcast, if you will. So at some point I plan on maybe having this on Spotify, because this is basically a podcast setup where I'm sitting here, just talking to you guys, and you get to listen to my voice for however long I decide to talk. But yeah, so I started this podcast because, this visual podcast, because one, I love making films. Two, I love talking and giving advice and just helping out. And, I started this in hopes that it can really help people to kind of, get through whatever they're dealing with internally or just life in general. Because sometimes you don't really have a lot of positive things in the media that can help motivate us and help get us out of the things that we're currently dealing with. So I kind of wanted to be that little beacon of light, if you will, that can, kind of give you some advice, some guidance if you don't have someone who can give you sound advice or sound guidance. Maybe I can be that guy. So, basically what today's topic is, as you can tell by the title of the video, it is humble beginnings. So, this setup that I currently have, all this equipment that I have, not all of this, of course, this all didn't come overnight. We as filmmakers, especially filmmakers, or photographers, or anyone who does anything artistically, really, we have to kind of like build our repertoire of equipment up, and it can take time because a lot of these things are expensive. Like, if you saw this whole setup right now, like I have a light, softbox, C-stand, boom arm, tripod, camera, lens, microphone, external recorders, phone, all of this equipment that's on this set, if you will, because I kind of like to pop up shop or set up shop wherever I am, because I like to be outside. I hate being inside, especially since that I've been quarantining and I'm out here by myself. My wife was out here earlier, but it's a little too cold for her. It's almost a little too cool for me. So if my nose is turning red, yeah, it's a little cool outside, but I love being outside in nature, and this is just, it's my thing. I know I talk about that a lot, but this is just something I really enjoy because, it's fresh air, it's my time being outside, and with the pandemic that we're in, it's almost like you don't really want to go anywhere but outside. I've seen a lot of people on hiking trails more often, ever since the pandemic started. And, that's kind of where people just go to just have a mental break. But getting off topic, sorry about that. Let's go ahead and get back on topic. So I'll say my photography journey, humble beginnings in my photography journey. I started with photography when I was younger. I would say elementary school age. And that, for me, that was around the time when we had the disposable cameras. It was the little disposable camera that you get from like Walmart, Kmart, and that you can kind of like get developed at like CVS and all those other stores and whatnot, That's where my photography journey started. So I would say my mom got me started in photography, and it was cool when I figured out exactly what it was, because I've always had a love for, how the world looks around me, and, just being able to capture that. I wanted to draw, and I guess I wanted to draw what I would see, but my drawing skills weren't that great. And I guess if I would have practiced, they would have gotten better. But I didn't think art was really my, like, I guess drawing was really my thing. And I'll get to that when I get to talking about when I was in college and actually started to, I tried to pursue a career in art or graphic design, if you will. But yeah, photography started when I was just a wee laddie. Picked up the disposable cameras, was taking pictures of my friends, and it was always a really cool, just, I guess, experience being able to make a photo. And I don't have any, like, you know, long drawn out story about it, but yeah, just taking pictures of my friends, and then, you know, of course, as time progressed, we started to have cameras in our phones. Because of course I'm a 90s baby, so we started off without having camera phones, and then, you know, as technology progressed, we slowly began to get those features in our phones. So, you know, it didn't go directly to the camera phone for me. It started off with a disposable camera, and then I guess my dad actually had a digital camera. It was like a Canon PowerShot or something like that. And he just had it from when he served in Iraq. And I guess he was just taking pictures of, you know, what was going on over there, because, you know, technology wasn't as advanced, because this was like between the years of 2005, 2007, I think. And, you know, technology was not nearly as advanced as it is currently. So, you know, a Canon PowerShot was like your go-to thing, or just any type of, you know, digital camera, just point and shoot. But I found it in his room one day when I was visiting him in Savannah, because my pop stays in Savannah, Georgia. We stayed like 3 hours away in Warner Robins. So, you know, when I got to see my pops, it was always like something fun that we would do. We'd always go on, you know, different little adventures or whatever, just find something fun to get into. But when I found that Canon PowerShot in his room, I was just so infatuated with like taking photos of nature. Of course, you know, me, like being outside, being, you know, just one with nature or whatever. But yeah, so I would go out and just take pictures of leaves and just take pictures of just whatever I could find, and really just try to make it as beautiful as I see that it actually is. And, you know, this is before I knew how to edit in like Lightroom, Photoshop, things of that nature. I didn't really know how to make the photos look as beautiful as I felt that they could. So it was always fun trying to, you know, just do everything in camera, which is what you should strive for. You should strive to get everything right in camera so that you can, you know, you can spend less time on the back end of post-production, editing, you know, photos or videos or whatever. You know, that's being able to get it right in camera is, you know, it shows true craftsmanship and a true skill set that not very many people focus on, I guess, because we're so, you know, with the advancements of cameras nowadays, you can really just take a severely underexposed photo and make it look great. I know with Sony, that's what we do a lot with Sony, because it has such a great high, you know, dynamic range within built in with the camera. So I lost my train of thought. Wow. But yeah, was trying to make everything look great, you know, because I didn't have anything to edit with. I didn't know how to use Photoshop, didn't know how to use Lightroom, definitely didn't have the money for it. Before then, it wasn't subscription based. It was actually, you could just buy the program. Kind of missed those days. Adobe, bring back the days where we could just buy the program. But there were so many issues with like piracy and all of those things, and I understand why it's subscription based or whatever, but yeah. So, of course, as time progressed, I learned how to use Photoshop, use Lightroom, things of that nature, and I know I say that a lot. It's like my catchphrase, things of that nature. Things of that nature. But yeah, so once I learned how to use Photoshop and Lightroom and those editing programs, I kind of started with like, you know, the generic editing programs, and I can't even remember the names of them. That's how generic they were, but yeah. Everything didn't start popping off as far as like my editing skill and my technique and my style until I started using Lightroom and Photoshop. So if you're an aspiring photographer, I'd highly recommend using those apps. Camera Raw is also a built-in feature with Adobe Lightroom. No, Photoshop. It's very similar to Lightroom, but Lightroom is way more in depth. Yeah, I highly suggest, you know, just tinkering around in that and learning your style, learning what looks good to you, and just creating your own style out of it. Of course, try to get everything right in camera, but then, you know, you can give it that extra oomph and give it that extra sauce, if you will, in Lightroom and Photoshop. But yeah, so kind of fast forward a little bit to when I was in high school, because I guess the Disposable Cameras was elementary school, because we would go on like cruises and different trips to like Florida, because that's where we were on vacation to, because that was the closest and easiest to get to. Whenever we would go on family vacations as a kid, we just go down to Florida, because we're in Georgia. You know, Warner Robins is literally middle of Georgia. It's called Centerville. There's a city, I guess, within Warner Robins that's called Centerville, and it's literally the center of Georgia. There's nothing there. Just a military town. There's nothing there. But yeah. So the Disposable Cameras, elementary school, right? And then you have middle school, where I was, I guess, visiting my dad more often. Because I was visiting my dad, you know, all throughout my life, but I think it started to kind of pick up more the older I got. And then in, you know, middle school, I was actually playing with his Canon PowerShot, and that's when I was kind of like able to shoot in manual and explore more of the camera settings. Because with the film camera, you know, with the disposable camera, which was film, you didn't really have any control over that camera whatsoever. But yeah. So the digital camera, I started to learn more about, you know, the settings or whatever, and I was able to just kind of make things look how I want them to look, or closer to how I wanted them to look in camera. And that is something that also excited me even more about photography, because I was like, oh man, I can actually play with the settings in the camera and make it look this way, make it look that way. Overexpose things, of course, that's what we all do when we're learning. Underexpose things, another thing we all do. Shooting with natural light, adding in artificial light, things of that nature. Here we go, said it again. But yeah, so the digital camera was middle school. So high school is, I think my sophomore year of high school is when I got to move with my dad. And that's when, of course, I was able to get my hands on a phone with a camera on it or whatever. It was like a decent camera. It wasn't anything. Now it looks like, it would look like crap now. But back then it was great, because I didn't have anything else. So yeah, once high school hit, and I was learning more about photography, just kind of like on my own. I didn't really have YouTube to learn from. I wish at that time that I had YouTube, because there's so many great videos, so many tutorials, so many, educational videos on YouTube that can literally take you from 0 to 100 in just a couple of months. It's insane how much information you can gain just from watching YouTube. It's so cool. But yeah, so it wasn't until college was when I actually got my first DSLR. That was a Canon Rebel T2i. Yeah. Canon Rebel T2i. It was, man, camera. Still got it to this day. It's still functional, still works. But it's so limited now compared to what cameras can do nowadays. And it's like, sometimes I take it out just to take pictures with it. I don't even think I have the charger for it anymore, so I can't really use it like I want to. But sometimes I just challenge myself just to use an older camera, just to switch it up a little bit, because using the Sony, it's a great camera, but I feel like it's almost fun to kind of go back in time, if you will, and use older equipment just to kind of have that nostalgia of it and just make art with something that's a little older. It has a certain look to it, if you will. So, yeah, college is when I got my first DSLR, and I was so adamant on having two cameras for some reason. I guess, once I got, accustomed to using my Rebel T2i, that's when I realized that I wanted a flip out screen. I wanted, this, that, and the third. I want to have a touch screen on the back of the camera, which I thought was super important, which is really not, because, what I'm doing now, I'm not even touching the camera. So I can actually operate the camera from my phone. So, yeah, just advancements in technology. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, so, of course, then once I got comfortable with the T2i, I upgraded to the Canon 70D. And then around that time, I was maybe in my sophomore, junior year of college is when I was able to understand even more about cameras, and I was working on my style, just working on my skill set in photography, just understanding a lot more. And at that point, I think I was actually trying to get the Canon 5D Mark III. At that time, that Canon 5D Mark III was an older camera, but I still love the capability of it, the function of the features of it. I love that camera. I still love that camera. I still got it to this day. It's in my bag to this day. Love it. But Canon 5D Mark III was something that I shot my first wedding with. I might have shot a music video with that, short film with that. I shot live with that 5D Mark III. Same goes with this Sony A7 III that I'm using right now. Bible verse of the day, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But yeah, so once I had the 5D Mark III, I was experimenting with that. Was able to use a lot more features that I was, missing from Canon 70D, and was able to just experiment more with the features of the camera, if you will. And then once I realized that, and the funny thing about it is with photography, it's a part of technology. So technology is always advancing like every day. There's always new advancements in technology like every day. So, once you get a camera, you kind of are looking at that next best thing. Shortly after you've gotten the camera, like maybe a couple of months, maybe a year or so, you're kind of looking at, this new camera just came out. It has way more features, or it may or may not have way more features than what you already have, but it's like that new shiny thing that you kind of want. And you're like, man, I wonder if I can go for that. And in actuality, still a camera, still take pictures. If I still have my Canon Rebel T2i, and I can still make awesome images with that, you don't need, all this fancy gear to make your dream come to life or make your vision come to life. You can always do great things with even the least amount of gear. I just go this route because I am after a certain look and I know how I want my videos to look. So you may be able to have a GoPro or something that's really small, like a little pocket camera, and that may be your thing. You may be able to make awesome vids with that small camera. You may not need all of this equipment that I have. So, whenever you're on YouTube and you see these content creators, filmmakers, YouTubers that have all this gear, of course, they didn't start that way. I definitely didn't start this way. I told you what my beginning was, the little Canon T2i. So, appreciate the humble beginnings, because there's beauty in the humble beginnings, because you don't know where life can take you, just by starting off with that one thing. And then if you don't start what you want, like if you don't start chasing your dream because you feel like you don't have the gear, it's only gonna prolong that vision that you may have, and you may have a message that you need to get out to the world, and you're holding yourself back from that because you feel like you don't have the gear. I'm saying this because this is what I went through. This is literally what I went through. Of feeling like I don't have everything that I need. How am I gonna make the videos or the content or the photos that I want to make, and I don't have the gear that I need? Wrong answer. Just because you don't have what the next man has doesn't mean what you are going to create isn't better than what the next man can create. I'm gonna let that marinate for a minute. Like, seriously, think about it. Like, you could have more substance in the video that you make, or whatever it is that you're creating. You can have more substance than, if you don't have all the gear or necessary equipment, than the person who does. Because they can have all this fancy equipment and fancy gear and not make anything quality or make anything, worth sharing or worth talking about. It could be here today, gone tomorrow type of stuff. And what you make could be the next best thing. It could be the new iPhone. It could be the new electric car, or whatever, something that's innovative that, the world needs. So we all have a voice. Sometimes we have trouble finding that voice, but I'd say just keep doing the things that you love and you'll find it. I'd say my humble beginning was, just playing around with the cameras that I had and figuring out, okay, how can I make this work? How can I do this? How can I do that? And just having a hunger for knowledge. Let's always have that hunger, that thirst for knowledge, to want to do better, to want to do something awesome, to want to, always try to one-up yourself, And that's the fun part about creating, is you can always try to one-up yourself and create something better than what you've created before. And in doing so, that ambition, that drive, people can see it, people can feel it. And, it motivates people to want to, either do what you're doing or do something similar. And people are just like, wow, that video that I watched on YouTube was awesome. Now I really want to go out and, do what it is that I really want to do. Like, for me, I used to be heavy into skateboarding. So I would go and watch skate videos on YouTube, and I'd instantly be pumped to go and skate. Like, it just had that effect on me. So, you watching this video about, me just talking about my humble beginnings could make you want to talk about, your humble beginnings, or, create a video about, how you got your start. And everybody's story is unique. Everybody's story is different. You know, we all have something to bring to the table, even if you feel like you don't. You know, just take a second and, like I said in the overthinking video, just write down some thoughts and ideas, and you never know what you may, you know, come up with might be the next best thing. So we'll go ahead and get into the scripture that I want to talk about. All right, so I reached my 30-minute record limit on my first video, so it just cut off. I recorded another part of that video, like the remaining part of the video, but the audio, it took me a while to figure out how to get the audio right on the first video, and that was a headache in itself. So trying to go back and do the second video just the same exact way, the same presets and everything that I did on the first video, the audio just did not sound good at all. So I figured I'd just go ahead and just record this and tell you guys what the scripture was and the closing statement. So we'll just go from here. Let's keep it easy. All right. So this is Job 8:7-17. Your beginnings will seem humble, so prosperous will your future be. Ask the former generation and find out what their ancestors learned. For we were born only yesterday and know nothing, and our days on this earth are but a shadow. Will they not instruct you and tell you? Will they not bring forth words from their understanding? Can papyrus grow tall where there is no marsh? Can reeds thrive without water? While still growing and uncut, they wither more quickly than grass. Such is the destiny of all who forget God. So perishes the hope of the godless. What they trust in is fragile. What they rely on is a spider's web. They lean on the web, but it gives away. They cling to it, but it does not hold. They are like a well-watered plant in the sunshine, spreading its shoots over the garden. It entwines its root around a pile of rocks and looks for a place among the stones. So, that scripture was Job 8:7-17. And it's basically talking about, you know, just humble beginnings. Though you may start from very small means, it doesn't mean that you can't achieve greatness. So, with this message on today, I hope that, you know, it helped you, this video, I hope that it helped you, and share it with others. It might help someone else too. And, you know, I hope you guys live a life filled with abundance. Hope you guys have a great day. And I hope you guys are able to do something awesome today. Peace.